Book 9 of Paradise Lost, second edition, by John Milton. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Thomas Copeland. Paradise Lost, Book 9, The Argument. Satan, having compassed the earth with meditated guile, returns as a mist by night into paradise, enters into the serpent sleeping. Adam and Eve in the morning go forth to their labors, which Eve proposes to divide in several places, each laboring apart. Adam consents not, alleging the danger lest that enemy of whom they were forewarned should attempt her found alone. Eve, loath to be thought not circumspect or firm enough, urges her going apart, the rather desirous to make trial of her strength. Adam at last yields. The serpent finds her alone. His subtle approach, first gazing, then speaking with much flattery, extolling Eve above all other creatures. Eve, wondering to hear the serpent speak, asks how he attained to human speech, and such understanding not till now. The serpent answers that by tasting of a certain tree in the garden he attained both to speech and reason, till then void of both. Eve requires him to bring her to that tree, and finds it to be the tree of knowledge forbidden. The serpent, now grown bolder, with many wiles and arguments, induces her at length to eat. She, pleased with the taste, deliberates a while whether to impart thereof to Adam or not. At last brings him of the fruit, relates what persuaded her to eat thereof. Adam, at first amazed, but perceiving her lost, resolves through vehemence of love to perish with her, and, extenuating the trespass, eats also of the fruit. The effects thereof in them both. They seek to cover their nakedness, then fall to variance and accusation of one another.
O sacred, wise, and wisdom-giving plant, mother of science, now I feel thy power within me clear, not only to discern things in their causes, but to trace the ways of highest agents, deemed however wise. Queen of this universe, do not believe those rigid threats of death. Ye shall not die. How should ye? By the fruit? It gives you life to knowledge. By the threatener? Look at me who have touched and tasted, yet both live and life more perfect have attained than fate meant me, by venturing higher than my lot. Shall that be shut to man which to the beast is open? Or will God incense his ire for such a petty trespass, and not praise rather your dauntless virtue, whom the pain of death denounced, whatever thing death be, deterred not from achieving what might lead to happier life, knowledge of good and evil? Of good, how just? Of evil, if what is evil be real, why not known, since easier shunned? God therefore cannot hurt ye and be just, not just, not God, not feared then nor obeyed. Your fear itself of death removes the fear. Why then was this forbid? Why but to awe? Why but to keep ye low and ignorant, his worshippers? He knows that in the day ye eat thereof, your eyes, that seem so clear, yet are but dim, shall perfectly be then opened and cleared, and ye shall be as gods, knowing both good and evil as they know. That ye should be as gods, since I as man, internal man, is but proportion meet, I of brute human, ye of human gods. So ye shall die perhaps, by putting off human to put on gods, death to be wished, though threatened, which no worse than this can bring. And what are gods that man may not become as they, participating godlike food? The gods are first, and that advantage use on our belief, that all from them proceeds. I question it. For this fair earth I see warm'd by the sun, producing every kind, them nothing. If they all things, who enclosed knowledge of good and evil in this tree, that whoso eats thereof forthwith attains wisdom without their leave? And wherein lies th'offence, that man should thus attain to know? What can your knowledge hurt him, or this Tree Impart against his will, if all be his? Or is it envy? And can envy dwell in heavenly breasts? These and many more causes import your need of this fair fruit. Goddess humane, reach then, and freely taste. He ended, and his words, replete with guile, Into her heart too easy entrance won. Fix'd on the fruit she gazed, which to behold Might tempt alone, and in her ears the sound Yet rung of his persuasive words, impragn'd With reason to her seeming, and with truth. Meanwhile the hour of noon drew on, and waked An eager appetite, raised by the smell So savoury of that fruit, which with desire Inclinable, now grown to touch or taste, Solicited her longing eye. Yet first, pausing a while, thus to herself she mused: Great are thy virtues, doubtless best of fruits, Though kept from man, and worthy to be admir'd, whose taste, too long forborne, at first assay Gave elocution to the mute, and taught the tongue, not made for speech, to speak thy praise. Thy praise he also, who forbids thy use, Conceals not from us, naming thee the Tree of knowledge, knowledge both of good and evil. Forbids us then to taste, but his forbidding commends thee more, while it infers the good by thee communicated, and our want. For good unknown sure is not had, or had and yet unknown is as not had at all. In plain then, what forbids he but to know? Forbids us good, forbids us to be wise. Such prohibitions bind not, but if death binds us with after bands, what profits then our inward freedom? In the day we eat of this fair fruit, our doom is we shall die. How dies the Serpent? He hath eaten and lives, and knows and speaks and reasons and discerns, irrational till then. For us alone was death invented? Or to us denied this intellectual food, for beasts reserved? For beasts it seems. Yet that one beast which first hath tasted envies not, but brings with joy the good befallen him, author unsuspect, friendly to man, far from deceit or guile. What fear I then? Rather, what know to fear under this ignorance of good and evil, of God or death, of law or penalty? Here grows the cure of all, this fruit divine, fair to the eye, inviting to the taste, of virtue to make wise. What hinders then to reach and feed at once both body and mind? So saying, her rash hand in evil hour Forth reaching to the fruit, she plucked, she ate. Earth felt the wound, and nature from her seat, Sighing through all her works, gave signs of woe, That all was lost. Back to the thicket slunk the guilty Serpent, and well might, for Eve, intent now wholly on her taste, Naught else regarded, such delight till then As seem'd in fruit she never tasted, Whether true or fancied so, through expectation high Of knowledge, nor was Godhead from her thought. Greedily she engorged without restraint, And knew not eating death. Satiate at length, and heightened thus with wine, Jocund and boon, thus to herself she pleasingly began: O sovereign, virtuous, precious of all trees in Paradise, of operation blessed to sapience, hitherto obscur'd, infam'd, and thy fair fruit let hang, as to no end created. But henceforth my early care, not without song, each morning, and due praise,
shall tend thee, and the fertile burden ease of thy full branches, offered free to all, till dieted by thee I grow mature in knowledge as the gods, who all things know, though others envy what they cannot give. For had the gift been theirs, it had not here thus grown. Experience next to thee I owe, best guide. Not following thee, I had remained in ignorance. Thou open'st wisdom's way, and giv'st excess, though secret you retire. And I perhaps am secret. Heaven is high, high and remote, to see from thence distinct each thing on earth, and other care perhaps may have diverted from continual watch our great forbidder, safe with all his spies about him. But to Adam in what sort shall I appear? Shall I to him make known as yet my change, and give him to partake full happiness with me? Or rather not, but keep the odds of knowledge in my power, without co-partner, so to add what wants in female sex, the more to draw his love, and render me more equal, and perhaps, a thing not undesirable, sometime superior. For inferior who is free? This may be well. But what if God have seen, and death ensue? Then I shall be no more, and Adam, wedded to another Eve, shall live with her enjoying, I extinct. A death to think. Confirm then our resolve. Adam shall share with me in bliss or woe. So dear I love him, that with him all deaths I could endure. Without him live no life. So saying, from the tree her step she turn'd, but first low reverence done, as to the power that dwelt within, whose presence had infused into the plant's sciential sap, derived from nectar drink of gods. Adam the while, waiting desirous her return, had wove of choicest flowers a garland to adorn her tresses, and her rural labours crown, as reapers oft are wont their harvest queen. Great joy he promised to his thoughts, and new solace in her return, so long delayed. Yet oft his heart, divine of something ill, misgave him. He the faltering measure felt, and forth to meet her went, the way she took that morn when first they parted. By the tree of knowledge he must pass, there he her met, scarce from the tree returning. In her hand a bough of fairest fruit, that downy smiled, new gathered, and ambrosial smell diffused. To him she hasted, in her face excuse came prologue, and apology to prompt, which with bland words at will she thus addressed. Hast thou not wonder'd, Adam, at my stay? Thee I have missed, and thought it long deprived thy presence, agony of love till now not felt, nor shall be twice. For never more mean I to try what rash untried I sought, the pain of absence from thy sight. But strange hath been the cause, and wonderful to hear. This tree is not, as we are told, a tree of danger tasted, nor to evil unknown opening the way, but of divine effect to open eyes, and make them gods who taste, and hath been tasted such. The Serpent, wise, or not restrained as we, or not obeying, hath eaten of the fruit, and is become not dead as we are threatened, but thenceforth endued with human voice and human sense, reasoning to admiration, and with me persuasively hath so prevailed, that I have also tasted, and have also found the effects to correspond. Opener mine eyes, dim erst, dilated spirits, ampler heart, and growing up to Godhead, which for thee chiefly I sought, without thee can despise, for bliss as thou hast part, to me is bliss, tedious, unshared with thee, and odious soon. Thou therefore also taste, that equal lot may join us, equal joy, as equal love, lest thou not tasting, different degree disjoin us, and I then too late renounce deity for thee, when fate will not permit.
Thus Eve with countenance blithe her story told, but in her cheek distemper flushing glow'd. On th' other side Adam, soon as he heard the fatal trespass done by Eve, amazed, astonied stood and blank, while horror chill ran through his veins, and all his joints relaxed. From his slack hand the garland wreathed for Eve down dropt, and all the faded roses shed. Speechless he stood and pale, till thus at length, first to himself, the inward silence broke.
O fairest of creation, last and best of all God's works, creature in whom excell'd whatever can to sight or thought be form'd, holy, divine, good, amiable, or sweet, how art thou lost, how on a sudden lost, defaced, deflower'd, and now to death devote? Rather, how hast thou yielded to transgress the strict forbiddance, how to violate the sacred fruit forbidden? Some cursed fraud of enemy hath beguiled thee, yet unknown, and me with thee hath ruined, for with thee certain my resolution is to die. How can I live without thee? How forego thy sweet converse, and love so dearly joined, to live again in these wild woods forlorn? Should God create another Eve, and I another rib afford, yet loss of thee would never from my heart. No, no, I feel the link of nature draw me, flesh of flesh, bone of my bone thou art, and from thy state mine never shall be parted, bliss or woe.
So having said, as one from sad dismay recomforted, and after thoughts disturbed, submitting to what seem'd remedialess, thus in calm mood his words to Eve he turn'd. Bold deed thou hast presum'd, adventurous Eve, and peril great provoked, who thus hast dared, had it been only coveting, to eye that sacred fruit, sacred to abstinence, much more to taste it, under ban to touch. But past who can recall, or done undo? Not God omnipotent, nor fate. Yet so perhaps thou shalt not die. Perhaps the fact is not so heinous now, foretasted fruit, profaned first by the Serpent, by him first made common and unhallowed, ere our taste, nor yet on him found deadly. He yet lives, lives as thou saidst, and gains to live as man higher degree of life. Inducement strong to us as likely tasting to attain proportional assent, which cannot be but to be Gods, or Angels, Demigods. Nor can I think that God, Creator wise, though threatning, will in earnest so destroy us his prime creatures, dignified so high, set over all his works, which in our fall, for us created, needs with us must fail, dependent made. So God shall uncreate, be frustrate, do, undo, and labour lose, not well conceived of God, who, though his power creation could repeat, yet would be loath us to abolish, lest the adversary triumph, and say, Fickle their state whom God most favours, who can please him long? Me first he ruin'd, now mankind, whom will he next? Matter of scorn, not to be given the foe. However, I with thee have fixed my lot, certain to undergo like doom. If death consort with thee, death is to me as life. So forcible within my heart, I feel the bond of nature draw me to my own in thee, for what thou art is mine. Our state cannot be sever'd, we are one flesh. To lose thee were to lose my self.
So Adam, and thus Eve to him replied:
O glorious trial of exceeding love, illustrious evidence, example high, engaging me to emulate, but short of thy perfection how shall I attain, Adam, from whose dear side I boast me sprung, and gladly of our union hear thee speak, one heart, one soul in both, whereof good proof this day affords, declaring thee resolved rather than death, or aught than death more dread shall separate us, link'd in love so dear, to undergo with me one guilt, one crime, if any be, of tasting this fair fruit, whose virtue, for of good still good proceeds, direct or by occasion hath presented this happy trial of thy love, which else so eminently never had been known. Were it, I thought, death menaced would ensue this my attempt, I would sustain alone the worst, and not persuade thee, rather die deserted, than oblige thee with a fact pernicious to thy peace, chiefly assur'd remarkably so late of thy so true, so faithful love unequal'd. But I feel far otherwise th' event, not death, but life augmented, open'd eyes, new hopes, new joys, taste so divine, that what of sweet before hath touch'd my sense, flat seems to this and harsh. On my experience, Adam, freely taste, and fear of death deliver to the winds. So saying, she embraced him, and for joy tenderly wept, much won that he his love had so ennobled, as of choice to incur divine displeasure for her sake, or death. In recompense, for such compliance bad, such recompense best merits, from the bough she gave him of that fair enticing fruit with liberal hand. He scrupled not to eat, against his better knowledge, not deceived, but fondly overcome with female charm. Earth trembled from her entrails, as again in pangs, and Nature gave a second groan, Sky lour'd, and muttering thunder some sad drops wept at completing of the mortal sin original, while Adam took no thought, eating his fill, nor Eve to iterate her former trespass fear'd, the more to soothe him with her lov'd society, that now as with new wine intoxicated, both they swim in mirth, and fancy that they feel divinity within them, breeding wings, wherewith to scorn the earth. But that false fruit far other operation first display'd, carnal desire inflaming. He on Eve began to cast lascivious eyes, she him as wantonly repaid, in lust they burn, till Adam thus gan Eve to dalliance move. Eve, now I see thou art exact of taste, and elegant, of sapience no small part, since to each meaning savour we apply, and palate call judicious. I the praise yield thee, so well this day thou hast purvey'd. Much pleasure we have lost while we abstain'd from this delightful fruit, nor known till now true relish tasting. If such pleasure be in things to us forbidden, it might be wished for this one tree had been forbidden 10. But come, so well refresht, now let us play, as meet is, after such delicious fare. For never did thy beauty, since the day I saw thee first, and wedded thee, adorn'd with all perfections, so inflame my sense with ardor to enjoy thee. Fairer now than ever, bounty of this virtuous tree. So said he, and forbore not glance or toy of amorous intent, well understood of Eve, whose eye darted contagious fire. Her hand he seized, and to a shady bank, thick overhead with verdant roof embowerd, he led her nothing loath. Flowers were the couch, pansies and violets and asphodel and hyacinth, earth's freshest, softest lap. There they their fill of love and love's disport took largely, of their mutual guilt the seal, the solace of their sin, till dewy sleep oppressed them, wearied with their amorous play. Soon as the force of that fallacious fruit, that with exhilarating vapour bland about their spirits had played, and inmost powers made err, was now exhaled, and grosser sleep, bred of unkindly fumes, with conscious dreams encumbered, now had left them, up they rose as from unrest, and each the other viewing, soon found their eyes how opened, and their minds how darkened. Innocence, that as a veil had shadowed them from knowing ill, was gone. Just confidence and native righteousness and honor from about them naked left to guilty shame. He covered, but his robe uncovered more. So rose the Danite strong, Herculean Samson, from the harlot lap of Philistian Dalila, and waked, shorn of his strength. They destitute and bare of all their virtue, silent and in face confounded, long they sate, as struck and mute, till Adam, though not less than Eve abashed, at length gave utterance to these words constrained: O Eve, in evil hour thou didst give ear to that false worm, of whomsoever taught to counterfeit mans voice, true in our fall, false in our promised rising. Since our eyes opened we find indeed, and find we know both good and evil, good lost and evil got. Bad fruit of knowledge, if this be to know, which leaves us naked thus, of honor void, of innocence, of faith, of purity, our wonted ornaments now soiled and stained, and in our faces evident the signs of foul concupiscence, whence evil store, even shame the last of evils, of the first be sure then. How shall I behold the face henceforth of God or Angel, erst with joy and rapture so oft beheld? Those heavenly shapes will dazzle now this earthly, with their blaze insufferably bright. Oh, might I here in solitude live savage, in some glade obscure, where highest woods impenetrable to star or sunlight spread their umbrage broad and brown as evening. Cover me, ye pines, ye cedars, with innumerable boughs hide me, where I may never see them more. But let us now as in bad plight devise what best may for the present serve to hide the parts of each from other, that seem most to shame obnoxious, and unseemliest seen, some tree whose broad smooth leaves, together sewed and girded on our loins, may cover round those middle parts, that this newcomer shame there sit not, and reproach us as unclean. So counselled he, and both together went into the thickest wood. There soon they chose the fig tree, not that kind for fruit renowned, but such as at this day to Indians known in Malabar or Deccan spreads her arms, branching so broad and long, that in the ground the bended twigs take root, and daughters grow about the mother tree, a pillared shade, high overarched, and echoing walks between. There oft the Indian herdsman, shunning heat, shelters in cool, and tends his pasturing herds at loopholes cut through thickest shade. Those leaves they gathered, broad as Amazonian targe, and with what skill they had, together sewed, to gird their waist, vain covering, if to hide their guilt and dreaded shame. Oh, how unlike to that first naked glory! Such of late Columbus found th'American, so girt with feathered cincture, naked else and wild among the trees on isles and woody shores. Thus fenced, and as they thought, the shame in part covered, but not at rest or ease of mind, they sate them down to weep. nor only tears reign'd at their eyes, but high winds worse within began to rise, high passions, anger, hate, mistrust, suspicion, discord, and shook sore their inward state of mind, calm region once, and full of peace, now tossed and turbulent, for understanding ruled not, and the will heard not her law, both in subjection now to sensual appetite, who from beneath, usurping over sovereign reason, claim'd superior sway. From thus distemper'd breast, Adam, estranged in look and alter'd style, speech intermitted, thus to Eve renew'd: Would thou hadst hearken'd to my words, and stay'd with me as I besought thee, when that strange desire of wandring this unhappy morn, I know not whence, possess'd thee. We had then remain'd still happy, not as now, despoiled of all our good, sham'd, naked, miserable. Let none henceforth seek needless cause to approve the faith they owe. When earnestly they seek such proof, conclude they then begin to fail. To whom, soon moved with touch of blame, thus Eve: What words have passed thy lips, Adam severe? Imput'st thou that to my default, or will Of wandring, as thou call'st it, which who knows But might as ill have happ'nd thou being by, Or to thy self perhaps, hadst thou been there, Or here the tempt? Thou couldst not have discern'd Fraud in the Serpent, speaking as he spake, no ground of enmity between us known, Why he should mean me ill, or seek to harm. Was I to have never parted from thy side, as good have grown there still a liveless rib? Being as I am, why didst not thou, the head, command me absolutely not to go, going into such danger as thou saidst? Too facile then thou didst not much gainsay, nay, didst permit, approve, and fair dismiss. Hadst thou been firm and fixt in thy dissent, neither had I transgressed, nor thou with me. To whom then first incens't Adam replied: Is this the love, is this the recompense Of mine to thee, ingrateful Eve, express'd Immutable, when thou wert lost, not I, Who might have liv'd, and joy'd immortal bliss, Yet willingly chose rather death with thee? And am I now upbraided as the cause Of thy transgressing? Not enough severe It seems in thy restraint. What could I more? I warn'd thee, I admonish'd thee, foretold the danger, and the lurking enemy that lay in wait. Beyond this had been force, and force upon free will hath here no place. But confidence then bore thee on, secure Either to meet no danger, or to find Matter of glorious trial. And perhaps I also err'd in overmuch admiring what seem'd in thee so perfect, that I thought no evil durst attempt thee. But I rue that error now, which is become my crime, and thou th'accuser. Thus it shall befall him who, to worth in women overtrusting, lets her will rule. Restraint she will not brook, and left to herself, if evil thence ensue, she first his weak indulgence will accuse. Thus they in mutual accusation spent the fruitless hours, but neither self condemning, and of their vain contest appear'd no end.